Do you struggle with matching colors in Photoshop? You are not alone. It's a common challenge, but it's also an essential skill for any designer or photographer. In this video, I will teach you a simple and effective method for matching colors perfectly every time. So in this our example, what we are going to be doing is to blend these two images together. So what we are going to do now is to make a selection of our subject. We just go to select subject. Once we do that, I'm just going to create a mask so that the background is eliminated. So the next thing I want to do now is to turn on my background and I resize this image. We will now proceed to the very first and important step. The very first and important step to blending your colors or blending your images is to ensure that both images have the same exposure. Their exposure must be the same. So from this image, you see that this one is overexposed, like it's brighter than this other one. So we are going to balance the exposure. So to do that, we are going to create a curves adjustment layer. And once that curves adjustment layer is created, we are going to clip it onto this subject layer so that any adjustments we are making will affect just the subject. So the next thing we want to do now is to add a hue and a saturation layer. And on this hue and saturation layer, we are going to reduce our saturation completely to remove every color from the image so that we are left with just the black and white. And from here, we will zoom out so that when looking at this image to do our correction, our eyes will be focused on the whole image and not on just this subject layer. So once we have zoomed out like this, we now go to the properties of the curves adjustment layer. And on this curves adjustment layer, we go to the curves adjustment layer properties. Now we make sure that on this RGB channel, now we click here and we bring this down. We bring down this curve. When we bring down this curve, we are bringing it down and making sure we are looking at the whole image to ensure that everything is balanced. So once we bring it down to this level, I believe at this point everything is good. We just have to zoom in. Now when we zoom in, you now see that our exposure is balanced. We can now easily add colors to our image. So now we just have to take off the hue and saturation layer. We can delete it. We now bring in our colors. Now we bring in just the colors that we see on the background. Now on our background, we have a lot of orange and yellow. So we want to bring in those colors onto this subject. So how do we do that? Now our orange color will be found in our red. So we will go to the red channel here and we increase the red. So on this curve, when you bring down this curve, you are reducing your red, and when you reduce red, you are introducing cyan. So what we are going to do now is to increase it. So when we pull this up, we are introducing our reds, and then the next color we want to bring in are our yellows, and the opposite of yellow is blue. So to bring in yellow, we have to bring down our blue. So we pull down this blue. As we are pulling down the blue, we see the yellows are coming in to our image, so we can maybe leave it at this point. So you see that we've already created a blend of the colors. So we may just want to touch the green layers a little and increase it slightly like that. The next thing we want to do is to remove some of the highlights that we find on this image. So what we are going to do now is just to rasterize. We'll rasterize this layer, select the burn tool, we zoom in a little, we burn out some of these highlights. We just burn out some of these highlights so that the edges will blend perfectly with the background. Just burn it out like that. The next thing we want to do now is to add an overall color on everything. So we will just do that by going to our color lookup table, and on the color lookup table we are going to choose a color that will blend everything together better. You can choose the crisp warm. So when we take the crisp warm color, we can now come here and we reduce our opacity a little, and we see that everything blends together. Can bring it down a little about this point, and then we may now also want to introduce a little more shadows. So we create a new layer like this, and then on in here we put we change the blend mode to screen, and then we use our brush tool. Make sure your flow is as low as maybe 13. You increase, you zoom in, and then we pick the same color. Like you see, the highlights on this vehicle is orange in color, so we just pick this same orange color here and we use it on the highlight area of this image, around this area like this. You just apply it there like that. Just to make sure that the highlights have similar colors. Then around his face here, want to apply the same color there to zoom out. And then I think with this we may want to treat the whites on his dress a little, so we just go to our selective color adjustment layer, we target the whites, and then we just bring down the blacks a little, bring down magenta a little, then we increase cyan a little, bring down the yellows. So I think at this point our image has been blended with the background. Let's look at the before and the after. So if we hide everything, this is how our image looked before, and after all the adjustments, this is how it now looks. Thank you so much for watching. Please do well to support me by clicking on the like button. Thank you.